Aderholt of Alabama. Congressman, thank you for joining us. I mean, we're told that the Pentagon informed the congressional delegation in Alabama of this decision before it was announced publicly. Were you one of those? And what did you say to those officials?
Well, the last decision or the last conversation that we had with the folks at the Pentagon and with General Dickinson was that there was no reason that it had to be in Colorado. So this came as a complete surprise to us today. We had no knowledge of it before this afternoon. We got word actually from a reporter. So no, we were completely shocked because, of course, obviously we knew that Colorado was wanting to get Space Command, but they ranked number 5, as you mentioned in your opening remarks. And Huntsville, North Alabama was number 1. And so therefore, it only made sense that if you're not using politics to make the decision, then it would come to Alabama.
And do you believe this is a political decision that is being made by the administration?
Well, I'm concerned that it is because you mentioned about the Inspector General. The Biden had his Inspector General also come in and take another assessment, and still Huntsville came out on top, heads and shoulders above all the rest. So it has been vetted many times. This decision was made quite some time ago. It happened to be President Trump was the president, but it was based on the decision that Huntsville and North Alabama was the best place. No political decision or political influence was put into that, to my knowledge, and it was solely based on what the dynamics of the situation was.
But on that front, this decision has kind of sparked this debate, I know, among lawmakers over, who should make the decision here? Because as we noted, the Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall was leaning toward Alabama, and the question was, should the Air Force Secretary be the one making this final decision? Do you believe it's up to the president, or is it up to the Secretary of the Air Force here?
I think ultimately it should be up to the Secretary of the Air Force because it should not be a political decision, and that was why Alabama was ranked number 1. And that's why for all indication, it was going to Alabama. So, it's just completely shocking and outrageous that all of a sudden here at the 11th hour, they've decided to put it in Colorado when, if you look on this, they ranked 5. I mean, nothing against Colorado, but it was just not the place where they thought it was best. They looked at the best place for cost of living. Multiple factors were put into the mix.
Yeah.
Politics was not one of those, and Huntsville, North Alabama came on top.
Well, and I should note Trump's Secretary of the Air Force, Barbara Barrett, also said that she believed it should be moved to Alabama, but he later claimed single-handedly that he was the one who made this decision. That's what raised questions of whether or not he was making a political decision. But what we're hearing from officials, the pushback to what you're saying today, is that they say the headquarters in Alabama, the new ones, would not be completed until sometime after 2030, and that would affect military readiness. Do you see any merit in that argument?
No, because we had a conversation, and when I say we, the Alabama delegation, all of us met with the General Dickinson, who is over Space Command, and that was never once mentioned. This was probably within the last 2 months we had this conversation, and there was no indication there was a problem with Huntsville at that time. And if things have changed, I don't know where it's coming from.
Well, as you know,
other than maybe it's coming from politics from the president.
Well, as you know, our home state, Alabama, bans abortion at any stage of pregnancy, no exceptions for race, rape, and incest. The only exemption is if it's needed because the pregnancy threatens the health of the mother. We had previously heard from U.S. officials that they had concerns about those policies in Alabama and what it would mean for service members there if Space Command was moved to Huntsville. I mean, do you believe that the overturning of Roe versus Wade and the state's abortion policy played a role in this decision?
Well, I hope not, because if it did, then we know that's clearly politics, because I hope that we're not deciding where our military bases in this country is going to be located is based on the political landscape of the particular state. So obviously, Alabama did, like many other states, pass some abortion laws as under the Dobbs decision they could, but I don't want us to go down a road of where we're making military decisions based on politics, and that's what this looks like, and that's why we're very concerned. And as the Alabama delegation, we're going to do everything we can to try to find out where the problem is, and we'll be meeting together probably very soon and discussing how we can move forward with this.
And Congressman, if you don't think that politics should play a role in military decisions, does that mean you disagree with what Senator Tuberville is doing right now by holding up military nominations because he doesn't like the Pentagon's abortion policy?
Well, you've got to remember, it never was the policy of the Pentagon that you paid. The abortion was never on the table. And so the Biden administration brought politics into the mix. And that's why Tuberville has been responding the way he has. He is pushing back with the administration and saying, let's not play politics with this. And so they were the ones that started it. If he had never put the policy in where they pay for travel on abortions, then this issue would never come up.
But they're not paying for abortions. They're paying for service members to be able to travel. So they're not directly paying for abortions. They say they're doing that because if a service member, they don't get to decide where they're stationed. If they're stationed in Alabama, they have no choice but to have to travel to make that decision.
Well, the bottom line is the taxpayer dollars are going toward abortion. And, Caitlin, there's a lot of people in this country, including myself, that just doesn't feel comfortable that taxpayer dollars are going toward any way, directly or indirectly, toward abortion. And that's what this is all about.
If the concern is about military readiness, don't you agree that his hold on these nominations for someone who is going to be on the Joint Chiefs of Staff is affecting military readiness?
I think that these people, obviously, you want to try to do everything you can. You don't want to impede the military, but at the same time, there is a lot of people. I think the military is doing fine, and I don't think that these holds on the military are going to cause any great concern to the readiness of our military.
I just think some people listening may have a tough time connecting those two and understanding the concerns that you and members of the Alabama delegation have that the administration is playing politics by deciding where the head of Space Command should be, and the idea that an Alabama senator is single-handedly blocking all of these military promotions, which former defense secretaries say is going to affect military readiness.
Well, no. Again, it goes back. This was never an issue until the Biden administration put this policy in effect in the beginning, that abortion would be
but
part of it.
But that's because the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade.
Exactly. But let me just say that, what we're talking about is taxpayer dollars. And there's not that anyone is forbidden from getting abortion, but it's just the taxpayers' dollars going toward indirectly, but still. And there's so many Americans that does not want to see their taxpayer dollars go toward abortion.
Congressman Robert Aderholt, thank you for joining us on this decision about Space Command and where it's going. If you hear anything from the administration, please let us know.
Thanks, Caitlin. It's good to be on with you.
Thank you. Ahead, an update on the search for the American nurse who was kidnapped in Haiti along with her child. What we're learning.